Good morning. There is a pink and ginger sky off to the east. There are guinea fowl alarm calling. Perhaps leopards are in the offing. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live.
Right, well, here we are back again, and we're on the dam wall here at WildEarthTV Dam, and what we're hoping is for some leopards today down to the south. Sorry, I just need to turn this down before it explodes in my ear. Jamie is also on some leopard tracks further south of here, but not of all of the royal family. My name is James Henry. I will explain further as to what's going on shortly. Please do talk to us during the course of the next 3 hours. Hashtag Safari Live questions at WildEarthTV. Those are the two and only methods through which you may communicate with us. Excellent. Now, guinea fowl were alarming there. We know that Karula, our 12-year-old female heroine or queen of Djuma, was around here with her 2 cubs sometime yesterday. It looks like she came back to fetch the 2 cubs, now 1 year and 6 days old, and they may well be heading down towards the south. Jamie had tracks of 2 animals. I've just had the guinea fowl alarm calling here, so we're going to go and have a look around there and see what we can find. And that is the general plan. What will happen after that, I'm not sure. Now, if I'm not mistaken, what is the date today, Rebecca? The 9th. It's Jerry's birthday, yes, okay, which is, of course, is the 9th of more tracks of these little leopards knocking about here. Today, I think, the final offer for those t-shirts with Karula and cubs on them runs out. So if you want to get one, I think you can probably quickly do it now. WildEarthTV. That will net you a t-shirt with Karula and the 2 cubs, a very fine line drawing produced by G. Wallington, our fearless commander-in-chief. And also you can get the image in high resolution for a contribution of your choice. You can choose how much you want to pay for it. Imagine Michelangelo had given you that option, or Monet had said, well, buy my painting for as much as you want to pay for it. It's the same sort of thing, really. So you can do that. royalbirthday.wildearth.tv. Okay. With any luck, there'll be some hyenas there. I don't see any further tracks here. Let's stop and listen and see if we can hear any guinea fowl while we look at a fairly ominous sky there. Now, if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly talk to Tristan on the radio so that I can find out and we don't sort of double up, if you like. Tristan and Genamoyen. No, he doesn't want to talk to me today. Tristan again. Look at that sky. Isn't it beautiful? Aye. Tax, what did you say about Hosanna and Karula? I had one track heading up onto the dam wall from Mvubu, and then others going sort of turning around the area where the dam meets Twin Dams Road. Right, so he says on his way back around 7 o'clock, 8:30 last night, Hosanna was at the junction with Mvubu Road, that's where we've just been, and Karula was from quarantine. Okay, so those tracks that we saw were from yesterday. Okay, copy, thanks. Yes, we picked those tracks up. So those tracks that we saw there were from last night. Hosanna going to meet his mother coming down there. I think what we're going to do is turn around and go down towards Ingwe Alley. having found out from Jamie where she lost her tracks. Jamie, where did you lose the tracks on Philemon's Dip? They turned off the road there. So she lost them right at the dip. So I'm going to go and look on Ingwe Alley. Okay, copy, thanks. Tax, where are you going to check? I'll just find out where Taxon's going to check. This is how we have to coordinate these things. Okay, copy, thanks. Confirm the Nkuhumas. Apparently the Nkuhumas came back yesterday. They were at Sydney's Dam. That's very exciting. Right. So the Nkuhumas were at Sydney's Dam. Copy, thanks, Tax. That's very nice. So Taxon's gone up there, actually. He's not following the leopards. He's going to go and check if they are back on Djuma. That would be very exciting. Just to keep you posted, Jamie and Rusty are having a dreadful time, so they're going back to the Democratic Republic of Congo so that Connor can try and see if he can fix the problem. And if you're wondering who Taxon is, perhaps you're a new viewer. Taxon is a guide who works at that very camp over there. That is WildEarthTV, to my mind, the best value bed in the Sabi sand. Righty, let's go and see what we can find. I can hear a grey-headed sparrow calling in here. I suspect it has a nest. Always the first call of the morning. I don't know where it is, Craig. It seems to be hiding from you. Craig is on camera, by the way. That's Batman, aka the Maltese Falcon, the Maltese root canal. Safari Live fan, as I've just said, we do have some line updates. The Nkuhumas were at Sydney's Dam yesterday evening, and they will be back. Well, they will be back. Taxon's gone to see if they aren't back today. So I think it might mean that the lions, well, I mean, there's a lot of lion upheaval at the moment. We know that the Matimbas were up north for some strange reason with 3 unknown lionesses on the Buffelshoek-Manyeleti boundary. So again, if you are not familiar with this area, Djuma sits pretty much in the middle of the northern Sabi Sand, and the reserve to the north of us, all unfenced of course, is Buffelshoek, and to the north of that then we have the Manyeleti. And the 2 Matimba males, who some of you will know, or many of you will know, they used to dominate this area. Then they went into sort of a fairly luxurious retirement down at Londolozi, which is about 7 kilometers, 5 miles. Conflict with other male lions down the south. The Birmingham boys have had a fight either with each other or with one of these other coalitions of males around the place. So there's quite a lot of upheaval. The Birminghams were on Cheetah Plains yesterday. 3 of them were on Cheetah Plains. And then the Salala Pride, which isn't normally around here at all. Well, I don't want to go down this road. The Salala Pride, which isn't normally around here at all, was on Arathusa. So there's a huge amount of sort of upheaval in the lions. It'd be very nice to actually see a lion. I'm not sure I'd recognise one. Haven't seen them for a while. What else can I tell you about the lions? Don't know where the sticks are at the moment. And the Ninkapumas are coming sort of into contact again, I suppose, with the Matimbas. Now that's quite interesting. The Matimba males, of course, used to dominate the Nkuhuma Pride. They were chased off by the Birmingham boys. Birmingham boys settled in sort of, well, almost 2 years ago, not quite, say 18 months ago. Have sired, at least, I mean, with the Nkuhuma Pride, they've sired, what have they sired? They've sired 8 cubs, and they're attempted to sire a whole lot more. And what the Matimbas would almost certainly kill those cubs if they come across them, we think. So it might be quite interesting to find out what's going on there. So Taxon will pop up there and have a look. I just suspect that they're still north of our reserve, and the reason I think they're north, of course, is because there are well, they're pretty much buffalo specialists at the moment. The buffalo herds are all the way in the north. And you're all willing the Nkuhumas to come back. Well, I will them as much as you do to come back, I say. I find it distressing that we haven't seen little cubs. They're going to be so big by now, we're hardly going to recognize them. I mean, the youngest is almost a year old now. Go ahead, Tax is just calling me. They've crossed south. They've crossed south and headed towards Simbambili. So we'll just quickly find out from Tax. He's going to go and follow up. Huh. Okay, copy, thanks very much. So the tracks of the Nkuhumas have come around the northwestern corner of Djuma, and they seem to be sort of cutting across there towards Simbambili area. Which is, again, if I will draw you a map. I'm using a lot of terms that if you're a new viewer must be deeply confusing. I'll draw you a map shortly. We'll just wait for the bushwalk to get going so that I can prepare it. Now, this particular road or area is often frequented by the royal family. Eric, you're wondering if lion coalitions sort of split up or destroy other members of the coalition. Is that correct, Rebecca? Right. Eric, they do split up, normally not in an antagonistic fashion. The Matimbas were part of a group of 4, and it may have even been 5 at one stage, but they split up. One just kind of filtered onto looking after this area, the other filtered onto looking after the area to the north. For a time they all dominated that same area, and then because the territory was big and it's a big effort, they just kind of split their forces. And then they tended not to meet up again. Apparently they kind of really did split, but not it wouldn't have been antagonistic. The Majingalan coalition of the southern and western portions of the Sabi Sand have dominated for some years now, I think almost 4 years now, and they do split up. Often it's 2 and 2 looking after different parts of the territory, but they often meet up, and apparently that has been the reason they've survived out here for so long, is that when there's trouble they do all come together. Now, do they ever kill a coalition member? No, it would be highly unusual that would happen. Normally, if one is obviously bigger and stronger than the other, then there will be a dominance hierarchy. With the 2 Matimbas, I think that has been the case. Certainly the hairy-bellied Matimba, what a name that is, seems to have dominated his slightly smaller and less testosterone-infested brother, the Ginger Matimba. Is that what we called him? Yes, we did, the Ginger Matimba. But in the Birmingham boys, I would say that there isn't an obvious dominance hierarchy. Perhaps Mfumo, he who has the face sliced to pieces, is slightly more dominant than the others, but I think that's pretty fanciful thinking. Now this is where one would expect to find one of those 2 cubs lurking in the boughs of one of these trees. Just the golden spotted pelage, perhaps. Karula likes to be around here sometimes. And Chris, yes, I'm afraid they would. You say, would they kill all of the cubs, not just the male cubs? Let's assume that they were sort of trying to establish themselves here again. Then they would kill all the cubs, male or female. Doesn't make any difference to them. If the females were older than a year, they might be able to escape from it. But it's But they've just crossed them over the boundary to One Eye Pan. I've just heard that. But Chris, anything under a year old is going to be killed because there's a limited time for breeding, and while those females might one day produce new males and heir, it won't be for a good 2.5 years. So they want all the females to come into estrus immediately so that they can mate with them and produce their own offspring. Now the Matimbas, who were chased out of here, and we thought, well, this bunch is now long gone and their day is done, and associated cliches, managed to sire cubs down on their little postage stamp sized territory down in the south. I imagine those cubs are now in imminent danger, and it's been quite interesting to watch because the textbooks will tell you that when a lion coalition is chased out of an area, well, that's it, then they must go into retirement, kill a couple of porcupines and eventually starve to death. That certainly hasn't been the case for them at all. The leopards have gone in here. No, they're still on the road. We'll just drive. No, there's some more there. And Marco, you say, what's the average time that a male lion will dominate a territory? Well, why don't we quickly have a talk about what the... Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted, just quickly trying to figure out what's going on with these tracks. Marco, let's go through the life cycle of a male lion. I'm just going to drive in here. There's quite an obvious place where they often like to lurk about. The life cycle of a male lion. Right, so a male lion is born, looks like a small teddy bear, and he grows into the pride, and about 6 weeks he's introduced to the pride. Let's just have a look at the sun there while I have a listen to see if I can't hear some alarming birds, etc. And at 6 weeks he's introduced to the pride, and there he will live until he's about 2.5 to 3 years old, sometimes 3.5, whereupon he will start to mature and start to become sexually active, at which point his father will say, to hell with this, chum, go and find your own ladies, and he'll kick him out of the pride. Now, that may be with his brothers, he may be on his own. Often it's with male siblings or male cousins, and they'll go off together and set up a coalition, and then they'll take over an area. Now, by taking over an area, that normally happens at their age of, at the age of normally about 6. So they spend a number of years sort of knocking about on their own, and then about 6 years old, they take over an area. Then they mate straight away. And by the time their offspring, their female offspring, are 2.5 years old and ready to mate, that's normally round about the time that they will be ousted, or there could easily be some kind of pride upheaval. So the average time for a male lion to be dominant over one area is about 2.5 to 3 years. But in a big coalition, it can be longer than that. It can be 4 or 5 years. So it really does depend on the size of the coalition, the number of other males coming into the area, and I guess on the individual characteristics of the coalition itself. There are so many flies out here that it really is quite unpleasant when you stop. Craig, will you tell me if you see any leopards here? I don't want you to be quiet about it, see? I shan't be upset. My ego won't be too affected if you spot them before me. They love to spend time in here, and this is kind of where the tracks went. But it's difficult to tell, of course, from the vehicle. As you can see, there are so many flies around. So nice. Let's just switch off and have a little bit of a listen to see if there's any alarming. I don't think these tracks are that fresh, because if they were down at the dam at around 8 o'clock, then, yeah. Okay, let's carry on. The tracks of the Nkuhumas have crossed to Simbambili One-Eye Pan, which is not somewhere we can go, I'm afraid. Alas and alack. Beth, I'm going to ask you to ask Tristan this when he comes online. You say, does Simbambili mean anything in one of the local languages? I'm a relatively okay speaker of the language of Xitsonga or Shangaan, and I have never heard the word used other than when referring to the lodge. I think it's an amalgam of two words, if I'm not mistaken, and indeed some of our viewers, I think, have told me this before, but it's obviously slipped my mind. So I don't think that Simbambili is necessarily an actual word that means something. Like Chitwa, I mean Chitwa where we drive is the name of a giraffe that the family who owns the place used to see quite regularly, and apparently it used to make that sound. Chitwa, chitwa. Never heard a giraffe say chitwa, chitwa, chitwa. And then Arathusa interestingly is not a word that comes from Xitsonga or Shangaan. It's Northern Sotho or Pedi, which is not a commonly spoken language here, but that's what it is. And Arathusa means let us help each other. Djuma, there's some dispute over what Djuma means. Mostly it's thought that the actual word Djuma refers to a lion roar. I see not any leopards there. It's not to say they aren't there, though. Could easily be. Anyway, we will keep up our search. What else? Cheetah plains obviously doesn't mean anything in the local language. It means open area where there are cheetahs. Oh, where have you gone, little leopards? You know what we might try and do just quickly? I know Jamie was going to go down there, but she's having real trouble with her signal. And we're not far from there. And before it gets too hot, let's just go and check that hyena den that we found yesterday. I'm sure Jamie won't mind. Oh, the leopards are back on the road here. No, they're not. It's hyenas. Shouldn't talk to Herbie on the radio. Herbert, you copy, Herbert? Herbie, I lost those tracks at Philemon's Dip. I couldn't tell. It looked to me like they went east in towards the drainage there. Right, so Herbert's coming down into this area, and I just want to quickly get an update from Rebecca as to what's happening with Rusty, because if there's no immediate answer as to what's going to happen, then I'm going to go across to the hyena den. Alrighty, let's head across to Bushwalk and find out what's happening with Tristan, and you can ask him what Simbambili means.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our bushwalk from myself, Tristan, and Dave on camera this morning. We've just started out and it's been a beautiful morning. We've had a bit of cloud and a few drops of rain. It seems to be all separating out now, but it's really nice to get started with it being quite fresh, and the smell of rain in the air has been quite spectacular. Now, behind me, there is a whole big herd of impala that is just busy making their way away from us. It's a really, really large herd, and they are actually quite skittish. So I think maybe they've probably bumped into these leopards that James has been looking for all morning at some stage. So we're going to try and just see and look around here and see what's happening. As we came over the ridge, they were all heads up and staring quite intently and bunched together in a really tight group. So I'm pretty sure that the leopards at some point have been around here. Obviously they have been with all the tracks that they've seen this morning. So we're just going to look around and see if we can maybe give James a hand. Now, I believe, Beth, you were wondering what Simbambili means. So Simbambili it's broken down into two words. Simba is a Swahili word for a lion, and then mbili means two. So it actually means two lions. Now, why it got that name, I have no idea. I have asked around and nobody can actually give me a accurate answer as to why it was called that. Also, I have no idea why they used Swahili and not the local language that we get here. Swahili is only spoken up in East Africa, so really strange that they used that. But you know, these things go that way sometimes, so you've got to just kind of deal with it. But as far as I know, that's the meaning of it, and nobody actually knows why it was named. It's probably to do with lions that were around the camp when it was built, but even the owner of the land doesn't know why it's called that. So if he doesn't know, then I suppose none of us will know. Now, as we're walking along, there's a couple of squirrels that are alarm calling as well.
Righty, there we go. Sorry about that. Much trouble, obviously, on the bushwalk. Much trouble and rusty, and maybe we just have a 3-hour solo, as they used to call them. Haven't had that for some time. All right, here we go. This is where the hyena den was. Herbert followed many tracks into the drainage line here yesterday, and we'll just see if we can get in there with a car. It's not easy, and I'm not sure what kind of a view we're going to get. Now hold on. Craig, how are we doing our wheel? I don't want to push the wheel over the edge here, obviously.
Yeah, we could probably go slightly to the right.
Slightly to the right. Now, Craig, I know you're not a very vociferous fellow, but if you think I'm about to kill us, then you need to shout very loudly, all right? We should be good. Bit of water. How are we doing there? Stephanie, you ask a very good question, to which I am going to answer once I have got through this rather tricky section of the bushveld. Unfortunately, I don't see a hyena there. There's the den, Craig. Can you see there? The hole. Or are you unsighted? Oh, goodness gracious, this is irritating. Let me go forward. We might try from the other side. There, you can see the hole. Okay, well that's something. Now, there was a hyena there yesterday when Herbert found it. I can't see anything in there now. And Stephanie, your question is, does a hyena, or will new males kill the cubs of a female if she's pregnant when they take over? And I think, Stephanie, there are many fresh tracks there. Stephanie, I think, personally, that no, they wouldn't, because I think that lionesses, they mate with the new males almost immediately in order to kind of solidify a bond, so that the violence that happens between the males and the females during a coalition takeover can be dissipated as fast as possible. And I think you'll find that one of the reasons they do this mating thing is precisely for that reason, to make sure that if they are pregnant, the new males think that they are the fathers. Alright, I can't see anything here. It's definitely being used though. Right, Tristan has found some signal. I'm going to go around the other side here, and we'll catch you the other side of the den.
So we have found a bit of signal, which is really, really good. And what we've managed to find is a whole bunch of egg cases. Not seen this kind of laying of eggs before, but it's literally on every single one of these bushes that we have in front of us. They're all over the place, so it'll be really interesting to know what they are. We'll just have to keep coming and monitoring, but it's definitely an egg case, and it's not for a spider, because generally with spiders you would find that they would be able to stay here and they would protect those eggs or be somewhere close by. So I would imagine it's for some sort of flying insect that's laid the eggs and then at some point been able to leave them. And you can actually see on this particular one, you can see the holes where maybe an insect has already hatched and come out of it, and the rest of them are still closed. So quite an interesting little bunch of egg cases. Like I say, I'm not quite sure. It could be maybe for the elegant grasshopper. I have seen them all over this area, so it could be for them. They might have been around and this is what they've laid, but it doesn't look very grasshopper like to me, so I would imagine a small flying insect of some sort would be what it is. Now, as I was saying, we're going to try and help James and see if we can find some of the tracks for these. Just going to wave to Jamie quickly. Hello, Jamie. So Jamie is back up as well. She's managed to change vehicles from Rusty to Jigger. I think Rusty was having a few technical problems, so she's on Jigger now. But yes, we're going to give James a hand and see if we can help him with these leopards. He said to me that the last tracks he had was not too far from where we are now, so it's going to be really good to go there and just have a little look around. He said the tracks left the road, so for us it's going to be a lot easier to go and walk through these areas and try and help him figure out the puzzle. I wouldn't be surprised if Karula's made a kill somewhere and that's why she's back and trying to get to these cubs and taking the cubs away. It seems like they are all together, so it would be probably a sign that she's maybe got a carcass somewhere, so really worth following and trying to see if we can maybe find where they've gone and solve the puzzle. And that's the really nice thing about being out on foot in the mornings, is it's almost like a blank canvas. So you've had this overnight period of activity of all these predators and the kind of movement that they've had, and then you've got to figure out what's going on. And all the tracks generally are really nice to look at, so it's really quite pleasant to be out in the morning, and it's quite exciting because you never know what you're going to find. We also did have some lions calling, but very far away. It sounded like somewhere in Torchwood or in Koro, somewhere that area. So maybe one of the Birmingham boys that's gone north from Cheetah Plains. So I wonder if they'll be around. It would be nice if we could catch up with them too. But like I said, I don't think on foot we'd be able to find them. Alright, so now that Jamie's up and going, we're going to go across to Jamie.
And a very good morning to all of you and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie and this morning Liam is on camera with me. No, you're not. That is sheer habit. Gendre is on camera with me. That's a proper TV habit. Sorry, Gendre. I called Herbie Liam yesterday and Liam Herbie. So apparently I've got no idea what names are going on over the last 2 days. But we are finally out and running, back on Jigger. Rusty has gone into, I don't quite know what we'd call it, remission for now. We've put her aside and we are back on the Jigger once again. Jigger or jig-jag, just for her tendency to do this, to steer around. But luckily, hopefully, all of the problems with Rusty will be sorted, but it seems as though she's come down with a serious attack of the gremlins. Tristan said that he's going to be helping James. It sounds as though, somewhat disappointingly, the hyena den, if it was the den site, was quiet. So we're going to go and help everybody look for Karula and take it from there. We don't really have any particular plans. I think these tracks on this road are very, very fresh, and I want to try and work out where she's gone from here. Did she go into this drainage system? No, her tracks are here. Treehouse. I'm going treehouse. That's where I'm guessing she's going to be. Karula has a marvelous way of walking a very, very direct line if she's taking the cubs back to the kill. A kill. She's also sneaky, because I think pretty much everyone suspected that she was north, not south. She does march. She really does cover territory. when she's out hunting. Okay. Let's just check very carefully here. Civet, hyena, leopard. Wonderful. That is good news. Going this way. Leopard. I'm looking for a nice clear set to show you. Clear is all relative at this time of morning with this level of light. But there we go. I'll try and show you. I was going to leave track showing to Tristan since it's easier, slightly easier on bushwalk. Especially because they're going to be helping us. But there are tracks running along the middle of this road. If I jump out and disentangle myself from the earpiece, one set of tracks is walking along here. Probably the clearest I can try and show you is these ones over here. Jean, can you sort of see them? There are marks, you'll have to trust me on it. There are marks in the sand. There's 3 sets of tracks walking along this road, and they come from before the rain that we had. Just judging by how unclear they are, and the fact that there's no dry soil underneath. They've been rained upon. There was a short scattering of a shower. I can't really show you the 3 lobes or anything like that, just because the tracks are very, very unclear. Let us go and see. Hopefully she's somewhere not too far away from us. Must have been just as it was getting light, because that last shower was... What time was that last shower? Must have been about 5, yeah. Herbie. Just letting bushwalk team know that the tracks are here, just so that we can all work together quite efficiently. Herbie, these tracks are coming along, going west along Philemon's cut line. Copy. It's always wonderful watching the tracks of Karula and cubs going together, just because they zigzag. Sorry, Herbie, please repeat.
There we are, everybody. There's a hyena. We've come to Treehouse Dam. And I wonder, we did check the other side of the den. There's very clearly quite a lot of activity going on. And we're going to follow this one now. Now, that looks like a pretty young... I don't know who that is. It looks like a male to me. Might be a younger female. She's heading straight back sort of towards the den site. Oh, no, now she's heading up to the other way. That's interesting. Now, we did find some relatively fresh activity at the old Philemon's Dip. Ooh, she's smelly. At the old Philemon's Dip den the other day. Now, we need to follow this hyena. She's heading straight towards the Philemon's Dip den. I'm going to go at some speed around that way. I don't want to try and follow her through the block, because those hyenas don't tend to like that very much. Whoop. We'll just keep an eye out. We're not too far from the other den, but I wanted to try and catch her as she pops out. Any idea who we're looking at there? Our great hyena identifiers on the internet. And as I've said before, if you want to know anything about the hyenas of this area, there's a Facebook group called the Hyenas of Djuma and Arathusa. And, well, we'll find out anything that you wish to know about our hyenas. We go a little bit faster. Around the corner. Hello, Turtle Tracken. What's an interesting name? You say, how far will Gwen's will Gwen separate from the rest of the clan, and will females ever leave? Turtle Tracking, I don't know how far she'll separate from them. She will stay in the territory. She could, I mean, if they are in the southern Manyeleti like we thought they were, I mean, that's a good sort of 7 miles or so, 7 or 8 miles, maybe even up to 10. There is some talk that they came round through Torchwood and have set up a den to the south of us. Nobody actually knows what's going on, to be honest. And I think you'll find that she's probably about 3 or 4 miles from wherever their den is. That's normal. She won't leave, no. Especially not as a sub-dominant female. She will not be accepted into another clan, especially at her age. Crystal, you reckon that was Corky? That's wonderful news. Okay, so I said female, or youngish female, and I'm interested that it's Corky then. Corky, for those of you who don't know, gave birth. Oh, when did she give birth? I've completely lost it. We haven't seen them for so long. She had 2 little babies for a long time in the den off, or one of the dens off Gallagher Shortcut. And I forget which ones they were. If they were the Novembers, they're the June. Corky's babies, they're the December. They were D1 and D2, weren't they? December 2014 and December 2014 too. I think that's who they were. Those could easily have been Madam's babies. I don't know. I find it all so confusing. Can't keep track. Right, now I think this hyena's going to pop out here. Watch your heads. This is the old den site in here that we checked on foot the other day. It definitely wasn't occupied, but it had been excavated. Have you got one? Craig reckons he's seen one. Not. What was it? Was it a lion, Craig? A leopard? Oh, it's an eagle. It's an eagle that's just caught. It's just caught a bird. We've just rescued that poor guinea fowl by mistake. Or there's another one dead on the ground. That looks like a juvenile African hawk eagle to me. That was very well spotted, Craig. Now, it left something on the ground. And I can't see. The guinea fowl were alarm calling. And I can't see if the guinea that's on the ground there was rescued by us by mistake, or if it's looking at a dead comrade. This is fascinating. Well, the bird has now flown off. Let's drive along there. It will come back. When we moved out, I'm sure it will come back. Unless the hyena comes along and pinches it first. I'm very sorry to have ruined that hunt for this thing. There's not another bird here. I think it must have just grabbed this one. Does that one look injured at all to you? Now, of course, the African hawk eagle is a specialist guinea fowl catcher. I can't see any obvious damage. Maybe a bit ruffled in the front. Poor thing will have to now try and find the rest of its flock, which is no doubt scarpered out of here at a great speed. I think there is some quite bad ruffling on the neck there. Now this is where I was expecting the hyena to pop out, somewhere around here. Must have thought the game was up, this poor thing, when we pitched up. Well, you're lucky. We didn't mean to interfere, but I'm afraid we did. Which I'm sure you're not vaguely sorry about. Right, let's have a look in this termite mound here. Okay, we're just going to make our way to the den here. While we do that, Tristan has got some tracks to show you.
We do indeed. So Jamie was saying that she would like us to show you guys some of the tracks for the leopards, and we're walking down the road and we managed to find the tracks that James originally found. So if we have a look here, we have a track that is there, so that's the one, and then the other one is here. So what we have in this first circle is the front foot for what looks like Karula. So you can see this is where her toes are, and then at the back here is her pad. Now the reason why we know that this is the front foot is because it's a very sort of circular wide track, whereas if we come forward to this one, the back foot, you can see it's a lot narrower. If I put the blade of grass across between the toes, you can see that it's almost the entire blade of grass. If I pick it up and put it here across the toes, you can see how much wider the grass is on either side of those toes. So this is the back foot, that is the front foot. Now interestingly enough, with this, when you see it like this, it means these leopards were moving quite fast. Generally when a leopard walks, you'll find the front foot will go down and the back foot will directly register on the top when it's at a normal gait. When they're moving quite quickly, then the back foot overtakes the front foot and then carries on. Now these particular tracks, they are fairly fresh, but they're not right now. They're not tracks that are right in front of us. We're going to have to do a little bit of work to find these. And the reason why I say that is because if you have a look on the track here, you can see where a little dove has walked through. So there's the little dove's toes, and that is on top of that back foot track. So it means that they walked here before the birds were active this morning. The birds obviously have gotten active at sunrise, so this would have been maybe just before sunrise, and then the birds have come in over the top. And they've just been walking straight down the road here. Now I know that James had the tracks at Philemon's Dip, which is probably about 200 meters in front of us. So I would imagine that from there they maybe cut into one of the drainages, so we just need to see whether they've gone east or west. But if they're moving quite quickly like this, then I'm sure that they have some sort of a food source somewhere. So I'm hoping that Karula's caught something and that we can then try and find them on that carcass, which would be really, really nice. So that is the plan. Like I say, all looks good. The nice thing is that those tracks are on top of the rain, which means that the rain fell at about 5 o'clock this morning, just after 5. So they're not too far away, hopefully. Obviously these leopards can move quite quickly, so we're going to have to try and see what we can do. But it means the tracks are still fairly fresh and worth following, that's for sure. But while we were sitting here with the tracks, we've been listening out and trying to hear to see if there's been any signs of impalas alarm calling, or monkeys, or birds like Franklin's alarm calling, but so far nothing. So we'll see. Maybe it's because the guinea fowls are being assaulted from the air this morning that they're not too worried about the leopards, but we'll see. Alright, and while we do that, we're going to go to Jamie and see how her tracking is going.
I completely agree with Tristan's assessment of the situation. I don't think Karula's too far away. I hope she's not too far away. And I'm also hoping, well, guessing really, that she's come towards Treehouse Dam, just in terms of the way that her tracks are leading all the way from quarantine across in this direction. I think that if she was to be planning on going north, she would have cut that way earlier. So essentially I'm hedging my bets and hoping that she's come south. Hopefully not too far south though. So we're going at essentially a snail's pace, which is quite difficult to achieve in Jigga. But we're going at a snail's pace to try and see whether or not her tracks have popped out on this road, and also to make sure that in this long grass and with all of the greenery around that we don't miss her. I think she's somewhere here. The only worry I have is that the tracks were going south, and there are so many hyenas about, it might have prompted her to, oops, found a little root, It might have prompted her to move the cubs further to the south. I don't think they're going to be too bothered though. Her cubs are old enough now to deal with hyenas. Hopefully she's got a kill somewhere here. Michael, you want to know, talking about our lovely trio of leopards, you want to know how we will know when Xongile becomes independent that she has fully left her mother. It'll be difficult to tell initially because she'll spend more and more. It's not like it's going to be a sudden switch, you know. She's not going to disappear completely and that's it. There will be times where she just spends more and more and more time away from her mother and then comes back, shares her kill, and then moves on again. I think the only way that we'll be able to say for absolute certainty, most likely, is when Karula's pregnant again. If we see that she's pregnant, we'll know that it's time for Xongile to be absolutely independent and on her own, because then Karula will devote her time to the new set of cubs. She might still share kills with her previous offspring, and perhaps meet up with them, perhaps spend time with a little bit of time with them, but generally her attention is going to be focused solely on the new generation. And I think it'll be safe for us to assume by the time she turns 2 that'll be done. She might still come back and forward for a few months, but once she's about 2 years old, and once there'll be another defining feature when she starts mating as well. Once she's reached sexual maturity and she's established her own spot and she starts mating with a male, then we will also know that she's become independent, and fingers crossed she actually decides to set up shop somewhere where we can see her every now and again, whether it be the southern portion or the northern portion or whatever part of her mother's territory that she ends up adopting. And I'm not quite sure. My suspicion would be that it would be the northern portion of her mom's territory, because Shaluva's gone from that area. But then a lot can change in the next 6 months. Tiani could come in, another female could come in. We'll just have to wait and see. Ouch, fly, don't bite me. Managed to get through my trousers there. Any sign of little leopards at Treehouse Dam? The geese were looking that way. Now they are looking the other way. I think she's in here somewhere. I hope. I haven't picked up a single track coming out. There's a pair of treehouse Egyptian geese. We often see them around here. A bird that we pretty much associate with every single waterhole. Oh, big shuffle. Standing by, Herbie. Sorry, everybody. Keep yourself entertained with the geese for a second. Negative. I was just about to come along Scavenger's track to see if she's crossed there. I haven't picked up any tracks. I checked the junction of Shabam and Gari Main. Didn't find any tracks coming through there. If I don't have any luck on Scavengers, then I'll go Shabam, Gari Main, and then go east from there. Oh, that's affirmative. Sorry, everybody, just coordinating the search with Bushwalk on our Game Drive radio so that we don't waste anybody's time. About 100 meters from the Shabam Junction, maybe a little bit more. East of the Shabam Junction, sorry. Sorry, east of Shabam Junction on Philemon's Cut Line. Coordinating with James as well. Right, the race is on, Gendre. While our Egyptian geese feed upon their grass seeds. Oh, yum. They are, of course, Egyptian geese, due to the fantastic face paint that they seem to be wearing, or makeup that they seem to be wearing. Obviously put ornithologists in mind of the ancient Egyptians. I'm sorry, I can't sit here much longer. I don't know about you, Gendre, but I'm getting bitten by flies. Just trying to escape them quickly. Saw a funny ripple in the dam. Okay. Now we've got away from the flies that keep biting us. Now we can check properly without... No, man, they're still here. They're chasing us. Go find a buffalo. Although, to be fair to them, I haven't seen a buffalo in a very, very long time. The grass is looking decidedly brown, and I do wish that these clouds would bring us some actual rain and not just smatterings of hope that then are dashed as the day actually gets started. The joy, of course, in doing these, in tracking first thing in the morning, is that first of all you've got the excitement of trying to find the animals, but then at the same time you've also got all sorts of other little things that you can find in between. And while we zoom along this road to try and figure out whether or not Karula crossed here, let's jump on board with Tristan, and see where he is.
So we're still on the tracks for Karula. She says we're at Philemon's Dip at the moment, and we're just checking which way they go. From what I can understand, Herbie says that they're starting to go west a little bit, along Philemon's cut line. So still on the tracks and still looking around, but we're getting sidetracked as we go. There are a few insects around. We've been looking for spiders, and I was just looking on here. There's evidence of these little flies and insects that are all landing on this grass. Now, this is guinea grass, and so it's got quite a sticky residue that comes out. And you can see this insects that are flying in and out and landing. This is just where a spider has taken advantage and built a little web there and caught itself a little insect. But like I say, when I'm sitting here, there's kind of little flying insects like flies and varying other insects that are all coming in and landing and just harvesting the sap. You can see there's one over here. Tiny little one, and they will just be feeding off that sticky residue that's coming off this guinea grass. So everything is utilizing the available nutrients, and as Jamie was talking about, it's starting to get quite dry and it's getting a little bit brown, and so a lot of these grasses are going to start dropping their seed now, and there's not going to be nearly as much food if we don't get some rain shortly. So it'll be really good to get some rain. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get the rain today. Jamie's wishes are probably not going to happen. The clouds that we did have this morning that brought that little shower have all but dissipated now. There's really not very many around, and the ones that are left are all wispy and quite thin. So, Belle, we do indeed get wildfires, should I say. Sorry, not flowers. It's still early in the morning, please forgive me. So we do, normally they're around sort of our end of winter going into our spring. And that's because as we go through winter, we don't have any rain in our winter period. And so generally the bush becomes very, very dry and very, very brown. And the grass becomes just like a matchstick. You can just light it and it goes up. And so that's normally around August, September, into October. And we normally find we have our biggest fires around October, and that's because when we go into our spring and early summer, we start to get a lot of thunderstorms. So we get a lot of electrical activity and lots of lightning, and so we end up with a situation where the lightning strikes and we get these big runaway fires that go. But as I was walking off there, I came across this. Now, this is called a blackjack. It is a type of plant that has a seed that is on the edge like this. So all these little black things are seeds, and as you walk along, they have very sticky little edges to them. So if you have to put this against your clothes or fur like the animals have, those little spiky hooks there will grab onto it, and it means that they then utilize the animals as an agent of dispersal. So rather than using wind or movement of water, These guys use animals, so as the animal brushes past, they all stick. And if you're a person, they're a pain in the backside because they stick all over your clothes, they go on your socks, on your shorts, and then you have to sit for hours picking them. And normally they grow in quite big clumps, so it's a bit of a problem when you walk through this stuff. It's really not that pleasant at all. So I'll show you how well it works. Hopefully it does work now. There we go. You can see how they just stick as I run it over. So very, very effective way of dispersing your seed. You can imagine the animals coming through here, they walk and they get that, and then they carry on walking for a while, and eventually they brush up on a plant, and this then falls off and will then deposit itself into the ground and grow from there. So I'm going to get rid of all of them because I don't particularly want them on me. They are quite spiky as well, so it's not very pleasant. Alright, so while I do this and groom myself and get myself ready for walking again, we're going to go to James, who I believe has got a toothy crocodilian.
We do have a dirty crocodilian, and it's very dirty indeed. And there it is, sitting in Treehouse Dam. That is the so-called Boris the crocodile. No one can tell us why he's called Boris, of course. There we are. Very nice, Boris. I'm just listening to the Game Drive radio to find out what's happening with Karula. Sounds like they might be getting close. That'll be exciting. Alright, so Boris is there. He's waiting for, well, better days, I suppose, waiting for something to come down. He's showing a particularly poor technique for antelope hunting. He's clearly not of the opinion that an antelope will recognize him for what he is. If he just needs to lie there at the surface and, well, someone will come down and he'll be able to grab them. That, of course, is a very poor idea. He's going to have to do a lot better on the sort of submarine front if he truly wants to catch something larger than the smelly terrapins that he's been eating of late. And yet again, a profound lesson as to why we do not just leap into any water body in Africa without first making sure that it is very clear of crocodilians, and the only way to do that is to be able to see to the bottom. And so that pretty much precludes, unless it's a swimming pool, you don't get into it here. Mountain streams a bit different. But any large body of water out here, be it a river or a dam or a pan, I'd be very, very reticent to get into. Right, we went to the den of Philemon's cut line. There was some further fresh sort of investigation that's been going on there, but nothing in the way of actual hyena activity. So I don't know where Corky went. She may have just popped out. She may be going towards another den site. I'm not sure. We're going to head towards Cheetah Plains now. Jamie and Herbert and Tristan are all around that area, so if the hyenas do pop out, I'm pretty sure they'll find them. The mystery of the hyena den will be unraveled eventually, everybody. Fear not. Sounds distressingly I must confess, from the way the tracks are being described by Jamie and Herbert, like she may have killed something to the south of the reserve and be taking the cubs down to Little Gowrie. But we don't know for sure. Interesting. We've asked this from time to time, Lisa, that we've had this question about whether or not our predators can actually track. Do they follow the prey's footsteps or do they follow the smell? I think it's universally smell, Lisa. I don't believe that individual leopards are able to pick up or that leopards are able to discern an impala track from a duiker track necessarily. There's our vegan tortoise. That is the leopard tortoise. It is not an eater of meat, unlike the speaks-hinged tortoise. That is the leopard tortoise, a vegetarian or vegan. And behind the leopard tortoise, which is staring at Batman, thinking, I'm sure I've seen that guy on TV before, there is a plant on which a monarch butterfly is resting. Can you see that, Craigus? That's it. That's the Waltheria indica, which we speak of a lot. And I think the monarch is feeding on the flowers. Now that, according to my friend Brent Leo Smith, that plant sequesters hydrogen cyanide. And because of that, it is a host to the acria, to a number of acria species, including the dancing acria, which is in fact the caterpillars that I've been keeping. Very pretty light now. Oopsie, I just pulled myself out, I'm afraid. Sorry, Rebecca, you'll have to go with Adisa's question again. Adisa, you're wondering about the defensive mechanism of that tortoise, never turtle, and you want to know what animal is able to break the shell. Well, a hyena could, a very large hyena could break the shell. And then the most common sort of predator of an animal like that is something called a ground hornbill, which is a large turkey-like bird that has a chisel for a bill, and it will chisel its way through the top of the shell. So a good example would be something like a ground hornbill. Now, I have found another fascinating insect. Oh, it's just flown off. It seemed to be trapped, but it's gone. It was an antlion. Oh, we're not alone here, Craig. Look to the right. That is a waterbuck. It too is looking at the back of the car where Craig is sitting, thinking, I'm sure I've seen that guy before. I'm sure he had a bat suit on the last time I saw him. Look at the poor waterbuck also struggling with the flies. I know Jamie was also mentioning them. And I'm going to try and retrieve you one other insect from the bottom of the car here, and hopefully it won't bite me. Come here. Now, there it is. It is the red driver ant. Oh, God, they really are mindless creatures. They've got very substantial mouth parts, but I'm told that they don't actually bite. I'll give up with that one. Looks like a sort of enormous, well, it looks a bit like a wasp. It isn't a wasp. Righty, let's head across to Cheetah Plains, and while we do that, we'll head across to Tristan, who has found one of the trio. That's excellent news.
Indeed we have. So we were walking along and we were checking all these marula trees, and Herbie was checking the tracks, and he managed to spot little Xongile in a marula tree behind us. She's just lazing in the perfect branch with that morning sun on her, and she is very relaxed. It's incredible how relaxed this leopard is with us on foot. She's so chilled. She's just sit and picked up her head and had a little look and then back to sleep again. So she's not too fussed at all. And isn't it incredible to have her again on foot? It's so amazing to see these leopards. They sit up in these trees, and we keep getting these amazing sightings of them lounging And we've also got a little hyena that's just joined us as well. Herbie's just telling me that there's a hyena just off to our side here. I can't see it myself, but Herbie says it's just coming through the bush. Now, let's see what happens, because it'll be interesting. If the hyena is rocked up here, potentially maybe there's food somewhere close by. I did check the trees, and I haven't seen any sign of a carcass, but maybe if she's lying here, there is a carcass still on the ground, and that's why the hyena is coming in. I don't see where that hyena went, but it is just lurking off to the side here, which is incredible. So we've got leopard and hyenas on foot, and isn't that absolutely amazing? So really, really cool to find them. And like I say, finding animals on foot is always the best thing. It's one of my favorite things to do, and especially with leopards. You can see she's just watching us. She's not too perturbed at all. All legs are still draped over that branch, and they're absolutely loving this little bit of sun that's come out. She looks really so beautiful in that tree, and it's a good spot. That tree is quite a distance away, and Herbie spotted her from quite far away. So just confirming again his black belt in tracking skills. Really, really well done to Herbie. Now, like I say, I've been looking around trying to see if there's any sign of Karula or Hosanna, but I don't see either of them. I would imagine they must be close by. Their tracks are all here, so I'm just checking all the other marulas around. But it just looks like her, and like I say, you couldn't have asked for a better branch for her to have positioned herself in. She's sitting right out in the open, facing the sun. It really is quite a spectacular sighting. Now, the belly on her doesn't look too full either, so I don't know if maybe Karula just came to check in and see what they were doing. But generally, when they lead them like this, it's normally to try and bring them towards a carcass. So you can see she's just opened her eyes there for a little bit, and then back to sleep she's gone again. And it's absolutely amazing how relaxed she really is. You'll often find with leopards that on foot you'll get to this sort of distance, and they generally come straight down the tree and find some sort of cover to be able to hide in and to watch you from there. But she just doesn't care. I mean, we saw with Brent earlier in the week how he was able to get right up near her and be able to spend a whole afternoon with her just lounging around, which is really quite incredible. And then again yesterday, Jamie found Hosanna, and he was fairly cooperative too. So it's incredible to see how these little cubs have grown up and gotten used to people on foot and habituated to that, and that they are not worried in the slightest. Now, Karula is a little bit different. She doesn't really allow this too much. You'll get to a certain point, and she'll then come down and move off. And there's only probably one other leopard that I've spent time around that is like this, and her name is Salahesh. She's a leopard to the west of us. She's also like this. She doesn't mind too much people on foot, and she'll watch you in the same way that little Xongile is watching us now, which is pretty cool. So Rebecca's asking me why I think Karula moves off. It's just individual personalities. Some of them are, more tolerable of people on foot than others. Karula is very protective of her cubs and her territory, and she's often a little bit more aggressive towards anything that disturbs her. And so it's probably a strategy that she has in order to protect her cubs and to make sure that she protects herself. And so what we end up with is a situation where she gets a little bit more kind of wary of what goes on around her, and she'd rather come down and position herself into a bush or a thicket where she can watch from there. It's not to say that you can't get close to Karula. I've walked really, really close to her and haven't had too many issues. She typically just sits and watches you, but she doesn't really like to be right out in the open in the trees like what you see with Xongile, and especially on foot. When you get really close, she tends to like to come down a little bit and rather spend time down. So you can see Xongile is just repositioning herself there and getting herself a little bit more comfortable. It's absolutely incredible. Her eyes are completely shut. She's not even watching us, even though we are right out in the open. So all the textbooks would tell you that you'd have to be hidden and hiding to be able to view this leopard, and you can see that we're standing pretty much in the open. We're right out in this open section, and she can see us, no doubt. She knows we're here. She can probably even hear us talking, and she's just absolutely not fazed at all. It really, really is quite something. the camouflage that she has when she lies in that tree is quite amazing. From a distance, it's actually very difficult to see her. When we were walking along the road, Herbie was saying to me he's not 100% sure, but I need to check, and sure enough, through the binoculars we were able to confirm. But it's not easy to see them. That broken pattern on these marulas, which have this kind of white and grey bark, make it quite difficult to actually see them. So really, really good spot indeed. And you can imagine from up there she has a really nice viewpoint. And Dave, the hyena has just come out. You can see it there. Look, it's just watching us now. So it's just watching Herbie kind of walking away, and it's probably interested in to see what's going on. And there it goes. So I'm sure that hyena will eventually sniff out these leopards and go and investigate, and that will be quite interesting to watch. And so what we're going to do is we're going to leave now, and we're going to bring Jamie in. She's going to join the sighting, and we're going to carry on with her.
That is very exciting news that bushwalkers managed to locate Karula and her cubs. Interesting that they were pacing up and down here this morning. Let's go and join the sighting. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that she doesn't now feel pressured with both people on foot and with a vehicle approaching her, and especially with the hyena. So we're going to go nice and slowly, wait for Bushwalk to just point out exactly where we should be heading and where we should be looking. And then we can decide from there exactly how we're going to approach it. Akila, you want to know with our leopards what their different names mean. And they're named, of course, usually at a year old, but with Hosana and Xongile, just because we were with them for such an extended period of time, we gave them different names. And just hold on, let's Akila, just hold on 1 second. Let us approach this. Hi guys.
Hello, Jamie.
You having a good morning?
Very good morning.
Good. Hi Darby. Thanks, Herbie. Well done.
Can you see where she is?
Where should I be looking? Which side am I looking?
Behind you on the leopard.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, of course. Yes, of course I see her. Is that a tree or? Oh, cool. Awesome.
Enjoy.
Yeah. Has she got anything there or?
I don't know. The hyena looks like his mom that's busy watching. So.
Denning. Yeah.
Do you think they're denning here?
Around here. It should be a good morning. All at once.
Okay, all at once. All around here. Okay. All right. Enjoy. Thank you, Bushwalk. Bye, Dave. Get you all an unimpeded view of Dave. Now, I'm just going to approach the sighting and then we'll get round to answering Akila's question. However, while we do that, let's go and have a look at which chelonian James has found.
There is a tortoise, everybody. It was having a drink. Unfortunately, it has now decided that it is time to move on from having a drink. I'm not sure where it's going, but it was just really nicely framed against against this pan here, and its reflection was reflecting up at it. It was a sort of very gentle, bucolic scene. And now the tortoise has escaped us, moving at high speed. Now, there is a fairly large herd of kudu approaching this pan, so let me just go around the other side. Kudu are notoriously nervous, so if I go around the other side of the pan, they might approach, which would be nice of them. Ooh, and a waterbuck. Goodness, our cup runneth over again. Now, the kudu are now running away. They really are not blessed of enormous courage. The waterbuck's looking at them as if to say, well, where are you going? What's wrong? They're not alarm calling at all, so I don't know why they would be hurtling off at great speed. Perhaps they don't like us, Craig. You think that's it? I think so too. Isn't that nice that we've all now... we've spent really quite a lot of time with those leopards on foot of late. Oh, they're frolicking in a line. Not sure I've ever seen kudu doing this before. Just having a little bit of a morning jog. Let's go forward again, and now into the sun. They're going to come running across the road here. There we go. That's quite cool. They're supposed to be the high jump champions out here. They're supposed to be able to get over a 3-meter or 10-foot fence without too much trouble at all. And there are oxpeckers going across to them, also joining in the fun. Well, that's very nice indeed. Another one coming now from the right. Beautiful cow. Going to join her friends for their morning jog. Just before they have to get on with the business of eating. Oh, here comes another one. Here comes quite a large bull. Not quite as big as he's going to get, but he's a relatively large fellow. He'll stop when he gets into the open, probably. No, he won't. He'll just keep going. See if we can get a leap. I'm sure he'll come back across the road now. Come on, kudu. Assessing the dangers of life quickly. And then the oxpeckers, they're actually just on the bushes in front of us. You see that bird just preening itself there, Craig? Yep, there's one there. And there's one further down to the left. Yeah, on those sticks there. Yeah, there you are. You got him. Just preening, that's a youngster. No colour to the beak yet. In fact, I suspect that's a fledgling, probably very recently fledged. There are lots of birds that have that kind of lighter coloured stripe on the beak when they're young. Definitely ruffling itself up. Righty, let's head down towards Chitwa Dam. We're not far from there. And while we do that, Jamie is now ensconced with Xongile.
We are indeed with Xongile, who's looking a little bit lost and alone, and I think she's become separated from Karula and her brother, quite possibly because she got distracted, showing signs of independence, and just didn't realize they'd left without her, because I could see their tracks walking quite far away from where she is now, the two Hosana and Karula's tracks, I think. Or quite possibly she got chased up the tree by the hyena. That's also a distinctive possibility. And that was the most ungraceful descent from a tree I have ever seen Xongile do. It was a really audible thud as she hit the ground. So, little madam, what now? Let's just shift forward so we can see her. And we'll follow at a discreet distance in order that we might find Karula and Hosana. I don't think they I'm hoping they're not too far away. But I think that's where she's going. You're going in the wrong way. Unless you know something I don't. Which is possible. Probable. Not even possible. Probable. And exciting news about this hyena den. Unless our hyenas are just sleeping in termite mounds. Which it's starting to get particularly confusing. But we'll come back to that a bit later. But for now we're going to stay with little Princess over here. Who has got a very empty belly. She looks hungry. And now she's lost. How did you lose those two, madam? Was it the hyena's fault? Or was it because you were just being cheeky? Here she goes, sliding through the grass. There's so much more confidence in their steps now. They don't slink so much anymore. Xongile, where are you going? That's straight towards the termite mound. Where are you off to? Look at her. She's trotting now. Hold on. We have to catch up with her because she could disappear quite quickly in this grass. Hold. Just keep a little bit of distance. Not going away from us. She's just going, I guess maybe it's whatever the kudu are up to is catching. And Xongile's decided she also needs to go for a run. Xongile, you're now going straight towards that hyena. What are you doing? It's funny that this should be happening now because we were discussing this yesterday evening with Tiani and the fact that she used to go and seek out hyenas. Okay, hold on. You're going to have to reposition now because I'm not going to be able to in a bit. What are you doing, you little monkey? She's been watching that hyena from the marula tree. I just want to make sure that we're in position and then off. You naughty girl. At least there's a marula tree for her to climb into if she attracts trouble. Xongile. I know we don't have the clearest view, but I'm not repositioning right now. I just want to make sure that the sound of our vehicle doesn't distract Xongile and make her more vulnerable. So we're just going to sit for now. I don't want her to go blindly over the top of that termite mound without being able to hear as well. Luckily for us, she's going out more into the open. You are playing with fire. I'm sure that's the termite mound Tristan said that hyena went behind. She probably knows better than we do. Her hearing's so acute. Akila, you wanted to know why Xongile is called Xongile. Let's start with her, because she's the one that we're watching. She's called Xongile because it means the beautiful one. And now it's become her name. It's like any name, I suppose it suits her. But I think there's quite a lot more to her than just a pretty face, as I suppose there are to all leopards. An interesting little character, this one. Of the two of them, she's the one that's much more relaxed on foot. Not that Hosana's skittish on foot, but, I mean, we've seen how unbelievable Xongile is. Very comfortable with us. And now, actively seeking out a hyena. I don't think she's trying to find it. I think she's trying to see where it went. Curiosity and learning experiences all rolled into one. Okay, I think we can go forward now. If anything were going to happen, it would have happened already.